Whenever you build Cassandra clusters or you have already running Cassandra clusters, somehow you need to test how much stress you can put on your Cassandra cluster. I have a very good friend. His name is John Haddad. He's also known as Rusty Razorblade. He created a tool called Easy Cast Stress. So this is a wonderful tool we can use to generate some stress and generate stress test workloads on our Cassandra clusters. So today let's take a look at this tool called Easy Cast Stress. So let's talk about Easy Cast Stress. This is the GitHub page where you can get the source code as well as you can get all the documentation and how to build and run EasyCast Stress instructions from this GitHub page. Let's quickly take a look at EasyCast Stress tool related documentation. This is the documentation page for EasyCast Stress tool. As you can see here, EasyCast Stress is a workload-centric stress tool for Apache Cassandra. This tool is written in Kotlin. Workloads are very easy to write because they're written in code, and we have the ultimate flexibility to build whatever we want without having to learn and operate around restrictions of the configuration. Workloads can be tweaked via command line parameters to make them fit our environment more closely. So we can use this tool to generate a lot of stress on our clusters and control how much stress we are going to generate. Or we can basically use the pre-designed workloads to run some stress on our Cassandra cluster especially. One of the goals of the EasyCast Stress tool is to provide enough pre-designed workloads out of the box, so it's unnecessary to code up a workload on our own. And this tool is suitable for most use cases. For instance, it is very common to have a KeyValue workload and want to test that. EasyCast Stress tool, as you will see in this particular session, will allow us to very quickly out of the box run the KeyValue pair related workload or several other workloads which are included in the tool. Now that we got a good introduction to this tool, let's go ahead and see how to use this tool. I have logged into Doom server as Cassandra user. I have EasyCast Stress tool on this server. EasyCast Stress tool can run several different kinds of workloads. Using ECS list command, we can see all the available workloads with EasyCast Stress tool. Let us now go through the list of all these workloads and execute each of them. As you know, KeyValue Workload with EasyCast Stress tool is the most basic workload. Using EasyCast Stress tool info command, we can get the details about the workload. You can see here EasyCast Stress tool will create key value table, and during the workload it will generate a 50% read. Also notice that there are no dynamic workload parameters for KeyValue Workload. We'll talk about dynamic parameters when we see them with some other workloads with EasyCast Stress tool. There are several dynamic parameters we can tweak for running the workload. So let's go ahead and run a 5000 transactions using KeyValue Workload. Notice that The EasyCast stress tool KeyValue Workload will create a key value table and populate it with some data. As you can see here, using CQLSH, I have logged into my Cassandra cluster. Notice that EasyCast stress tool has created this key value table and populated data during our execution of the workload. So it has two columns, a key which is a string value and a value is a random text column. Key value is a very basic workload with EasyCast stress tool. Let us now discuss about AllowFiltering Workload with EasyCast stress tool. EasyCast stress tool also comes with this workload called AllowFiltering. So imagine you would like to run some workloads with AllowFiltering queries. This workload creates a table called allow_filtering. It has 4 or 5 columns. And also notice that this workload comes out of the box with two dynamic workload parameters. So the first parameter here is max value. And what it does is it just mentions that the lower value for max value will generate more results. I'm not totally sure what it does, but what it looks like or what it sounds like is when it is running the select statement with allow filtering, if you want very large amounts of rows to be displayed or returned from the database and then still have the allow filtering enabled, you know that Cassandra has performance issues if you do that. That is the workload you can generate here. Also, imagine if you have a partition and partition can have multiple rows in Cassandra, you can control how many rows are populated during the population phase when you are writing data into Cassandra using this workload. This dynamic parameter called rows, you can mention how many rows you want to put into each partition. Let us run 5000 operations using AllowFiltering Workload of EasyCast stress tool. EasyCast stress tool AllowFiltering Workload has completed running. Let's now take a look at the table which contains some data which was generated by AllowFiltering Workload. As you can see here, AllowFiltering table was created by EasyCast stress tool during the workload execution and it has populated some data. Also, during this workload execution, it was running a lot of AllowFiltering queries. Notice that AllowFiltering Workload with EasyCast stress tool has two dynamic workload parameters. Previous execution of this AllowFiltering workload, we just use the default values for these dynamic workload parameters. As you can see here, we can specify our own custom values for the dynamic workload parameters and we can execute the workload with EasyCast stress tool using these parameters. Using the -- workload option, we can override the dynamic workload parameters values. With EasyCast stress tool, we have another workload called BasicTimeSeries Workload. So most of our Cassandra clusters, we store some kind of time series data, and this is one of the time series workloads EasyCastStress tool supports. During this workload, EasyCastStress tool will create a table called sensor underscore data. So if you look at the table structure, we can notice that it is just storing the sensor information or sensor data in a time series format. And this workload comes out of the box with two dynamic workload parameters. Using EasyCastStress tool, let's run a basic time series workload and we will generate 5000 operations. EasyCastStress tool has completed running the workload. EasyCastStress tool, by running the basic time series workload, it has created this sensor data table and it has generated some data. Cassandra has a very important concept called counters, and EasyCastStress tool out of the box comes with a workload called CountersWide. This workload uses counters. This workload will create a table called counter underscore wide. It has one counter data type column name is value. There is one dynamic workload parameter with this workload. Using EasyCastStress tool, let us now run CountersWide Workload and generate 5000 operations during this workload. EasyCastStress tool has completed running the CountersWide workload. EasyCastStress tool has created this counter underscore wide table and populated some data during the workload execution. In this table, value column is a counter column. DataStax Enterprise has an integrated product called Search. DSESearch comes with search indexes. EasyCastStress tool has support for generating load on search indexes. As you can see here, the DSESearch workload creates a table called DSE underscore search. During the workload execution, it also creates a search index on the value underscore text column. Also, this workload comes out of the box with two dynamic workload parameters. I don't have a DataStax Enterprise cluster running. So for now, I'm going to skip running this workload using EasyCastStress tool. In Cassandra, we have something called lightweight transactions. Don't get fooled by the name lightweight. These lightweight transactions are not really lightweight. We can talk for hours about this topic. But what you have to understand is when we run any lightweight transaction, what it means is we have to read before writing some data. So there is an overhead of that read when we are doing any inserts. So read before write operation causes lot of latencies. EasyCast Stress Tool has a workload called LWT, which stands for Lightweight Transactions. This workload will create one simple table. This workload does not support any dynamic workload parameters. Using EasyCast Stress Tool, let us now run LWT workload with 30,000 operations. EasyCast Stress Tool has completed running the workload. If you notice carefully, for both reads and writes, the latency numbers are extremely large. So, this is a proof that lightweight transactions in Cassandra are not really lightweight. There is a lot of latency or slowness attached to lightweight transactions. EasyCast Stress Tool has created this LWT table during the execution of LWT workload. EasyCast Stress Tool also supports one more workload called locking. This is also based on the lightweight transactions, but what it does is basically it updates the existing records, and every update will first verify if the record exists or not. That is the read before write operation. And also it is lightweight transactions in Cassandra. As noted, we should expect high latency numbers during execution of this workload. This workload will create a new table called LWT updates, and this workload also does not support any dynamic workload parameters. Using EasyCast Stress Tool, let us now run this locking workload, which is also the lightweight transactions with updates workload. As you can see here, during this workload, it has a pre-populate stage where it is populating a million rows into the table. EasyCast Stress Tool has completed running the workload. Notice that I got a lot of errors during the execution of this workload. Also, all the latency numbers are very high for writes and reads during this workload. During execution of locking workload with EasyCast Stress Tool, it has created this table and populated data. So note that with the EasyCast Stress Tool, there are two workloads which will depend on lightweight transactions. First one is called LWT and the second workload is called locking. Both of them use lightweight transactions, and what we noticed was a lot of latencies during execution of these two workloads. Cassandra supports few complex data types. One of them is map data type. Using EasyCast Stress Tool, we can run a workload called maps, which will use the map data type and generate some workload. This workload will create a table called map underscore stress. It has one column called data, which is using map data type. And notice that this workload does not support any dynamic workload parameters. Using EasyCast stress tool, let's now run maps workload. During this workload, we will generate 5000 operations. EasyCast stress tool has completed running the workload. During execution of maps workload using EasyCast stress tool, it has created this map underscore stress table. It has a data column which uses a map data type. As you can see here, EasyCast stress tool has generated some data. One of the very poorly accepted options in Cassandra world is materialized views. EasyCast stress tool out of the box comes with a workload to test materialized views. As you can see here, this workload will create a table called person. Also notice that it creates two materialized views. First one is called person by age. Second one is called person by city. This workload does not support any dynamic workload parameters. Using EasyCast stress tool, let us now execute materialized views workload. During this workload, let us generate 5000 operations. EasyCast stress tool has completed running the workload. During execution of materialized views workload using EasyCast stress tool, it has created this table called person. Data in the person table was generated by EasyCast stress tool during execution of materialized views workload. Earlier, we noticed that there are two materialized views which were created by EasyCast stress tool. One of the materialized view is person by age. The second materialized view is person by city. EasyCast stress tool has a workload called materialized views and it creates a table called person. It also creates two materialized views. Person by age and person by city are the materialized views. EasyCast stress tool comes with a workload called RandomPartitionAccess. This workload will create a table called random_access. You can see it uses partition ID as the partition key and row ID here is a clustering column. There are three dynamic workload parameters with this workload. Using EasyCast stress tool, let us run the RandomPartitionAccess workload now. We will generate 5000 operations during this workload execution. EasyCast stress tool has completed running the workload. While executing RandomPartitionAccess workload using EasyCast stress tool, it has created this table called random_access and it also generated some data for this table. With Cassandra 5.0, we are getting a new index called storage attached index. So far in Cassandra's history, storage attached indexes look like a promising feature for indexing. EasyCast Stress tool already has a workload called SAI, and it is used to generate some stress on the SAI indexes. As you can see here, this workload will create a table called SAI. Also, this workload will create two storage attached indexes on two of the columns. Remember that currently SAI indexes support only one column in its index. SAI workload comes out of the box with many dynamic workload parameters. Using EasyCast Stress tool, let us now run SAI workload. Let us generate 5000 operations during this workload. EasyCast Stress tool has completed running the workload. EasyCast Stress tool has created this SAI table during the execution of workload called storage attached index SAI. Remember that SAI or storage attached indexes are only introduced with Cassandra 5.0. So to execute the EasyCast Stress tool SAI workload, you will require to have Cassandra 5.0 cluster. Cassandra supports some advanced or complex data types. One of them is called set. Using EasyCast Stress tool, we can execute a workload called sets. The sets workload will create a table called sets. It has a column called values, which is of data type set. This workload does not have any dynamic workload parameters. Using EasyCast Stress tool, let us now execute a workload called sets. Let us generate 5000 operations during this execution. EasyCast Stress tool has completed executing the workload. When we executed the workload called sets using EasyCast Stress tool, it has created this table and populated data. Earlier we saw that EasyCast Stress tool supports one workload called BasicTimeSeries Workload. Let's take a look at the user-defined data type based time series workload now. This is called UdtTimeSeries. In Cassandra, we can create user-defined data types or the type. So as you can see here, this workload will create a type which is custom data type. It is called sensor underscore data underscore details. And then this workload will create a table which is called sensor data UDT. For the data column in this table, it is using the sensor data details user defined type. This workload also supports one dynamic workload parameter. Using EasyCast Stress tool, let us execute the user defined type time series workload with iterations of 15,000. EasyCast Stress tool has completed running the workload. Notice that during this workload execution for read operations, we are getting very high latency numbers. These high latency numbers can be related to the user defined data type, a frozen data type which we are reading from the table. EasyCast stress tool during UdtTimeSeries workload execution, it has created this table and populated some data. EasyCast stress tool comes out of the box with many workloads. We have executed all of these workloads and got familiarized with these workloads. I hope you like all these options on your side and hope you will try to run these workloads on your clusters depending on the requirement you have. You know me as Sarma Paidipalli, or also known as Oramad. I have been working with Oracle database for more than 25 years and I started working on Apache Cassandra in 2016. I work with Apache Cassandra and also Apache Spark. I have a YouTube channel where I produce a lot of Cassandra content. Please check it out. I have a GitHub page where I publish all my open source work. I have published many Udemy courses. Please check out these courses. They're very useful if you want to learn Cassandra. I'm very happy that Cassandra community has recognized me as Cassandra Catalyst during December 2023.